Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome aboard once more for the afternoon game drive. You're with Safari Live, and we're here in Kenya with the giraffe looking out over the Masai Mara. How more fitting of a start could we have? What a beautiful sight that is. So, my name is Ralph Kirsten, and we've got Archie on the camera. Welcome aboard, everybody, and I'm very excited to see what we'll be able to find today. As we've come out, we've headed straight west towards the Tanzanian border, and along the way we've come across a lovely journey of giraffe, and it is a picture of serenity. They're all moving now a little bit towards the thickets, but they all were standing staring out over the plains. Seems there's a mix of all sorts here, male and female, and a couple of young ones. You know, giraffe don't generally move in herds. We call it temporary associations. Now, Kestrel Fox, you've already commented that is a lovely tower of something. It was a little bit long for me there, but with that, please join us on the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter and on the YouTube live chat, and please, we welcome all your comments and questions. Lovely for you to get involved. It's a lovely 29 degrees centigrade, about 80 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's quite hot, but it's not too bad. And I think, Archie, we just show how hot it is for some. There's a hyena that we've just spotted on the other side of the road, and this one's got a tracking device on it. So it's a leather strap that's around the neck with a radio transmitter on the underside of its neck, so it's in the best place for best movement of the hyena. And when I spoke to the researcher that is looking after or watching these hyena, she said that they collar a top-ranking female, a mid-ranking, and a low-ranking. Now, Archie and I were already discussing, thinking that this is probably one of the lower-rank females because she's way away from the den, which we're still yet to find, but the ladies have told us exactly where we can find it, so we just need to head out there and have a look. Well, they've told us the area, but we still need to find out the exact location. Now, the idea this afternoon was to head towards that spot where we've been seeing lots of hyena, and then maybe head up and try and find the den. And off in the distance we can also see some buffalo, an elephant in the background, lovely over the plains there. So we're going to start up and move towards them, and maybe we'll stop and have a look at them as well. But we're going to start up, head on down that way, see what the bush has got in store for us. But in the meantime, let's head you over on to Taylor, who I think would love to say hello.
I'm always excited to say hello to all of you. Welcome to the Sunset Safari. Hopefully it's going to be magical and filled with all the animals that you can dream of. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is Manu, and I am going to practice on my driving and looking into the camera. No, too scared. I can do a couple of seconds and then I get nervous that I'm going to drive off of the road. But this is a skill that you need to learn as a guide. So for those of you aspiring to be a safari guide one day, get practicing, just not in traffic. Out on the roads, there's no one else to bump into. But unfortunately, I'm already going to have to send you away because the technical gremlins are being quite rude this afternoon and are wanting to delay the show. So you're going to enjoy the beautiful vista of the floor of the Mara Triangle from the mountain cam while we reboot a couple of things. We'll see you just now.
Welcome back, everybody, and sorry about that little hiccup there, but we're back live and we're watching some olive baboons foraging through the marsh. They're all just trying to seek a bit of shelter, I think, from the sun. But see that as he's walking through the water, how he bends his tail? He doesn't want to get that wet. In Afrikaans we say it's a kromstert, that skew tail of the baboons. Lovely to watch them here moving through. And that one in front was a male. Looks like could be a couple of females moving now. There's a bit of water there, and there's a Defasa waterbuck in the background. And I can tell you the silence is almost deafening at the moment. It's quite hot, and so we've got a bit of a heat haze, but it's very quiet. There's no birds calling. It's almost deathly silent. And I'm sure once it starts cooling off a little bit, everybody's going to start getting a little bit more active. Now, Victor, you're wondering if there's a problem with his behind, and that's obviously because you've seen that it's quite red, and that is normal for baboons. The females normally have much pinker or redder bums than the males, because that's how they show off their readiness in terms of mating with the males. Now remember, with baboons, the social structure it's an oligarchy, which means it's run by an elite group of males. So it's not just a patriarchy where you have one elite male. This is a band or a gang or a group of elite males that then run the troop, and the females display their readiness by the redness on their bottom. And those are obviously a couple of little youngsters. So it's quite easy to identify a female because she's got a very pink bum. And the males obviously have a little bit of a darker bum. So it does look like it's some kind of wound, but it's not. It's far from that. As they forage through, remember, baboons are omnivorous, so they eat all little bulbs and flowers, and here in the marsh there'll be lots of succulent little tidbits. They'll also eat insects and frogs and all sorts as they move through there. And that was obviously just a quick takeaway, parting snack. Another one or two coming through. Alright, I think. Now, Ben, you're wondering what kind of baboons you find in the Mara. It's these ones called the olive baboon. The ones that you get down in Djuma, those are the Chakma baboon. They're a lot darker than these ones, and they seem to be quite a bit bigger as well. However, the olive baboon seems a lot hairier. So they have very similar habits. They're both terrestrial, and they are very closely related, but it's obviously just a slight different version here closer to the equator. And as I've said that, they've all now moved off into the shade. It's very hot at the moment, so I can't blame them, but we'll just keep driving along a little bit. We'll head down towards the river, see what the hippos are up to in the water. It's always good to see them because they're nice and cool, so they can be a little bit more active, even though that's their sort of downtime when they're not out of the water going looking for grass and good grazing. It's still nice and cool for them, and they're probably the ones that are best off at the moment. If I was an animal out here, I think in the heat of the day I'd like to be wallowing in the river. Now, Wendy, you're wondering if olive baboons snatch your food, and you're probably asking that question because of the habits of baboons. And us in southern Africa, we know about the Chakma baboon very well, and stealing your food, stealing your hot dogs, getting into the rubbish bins, etc. So it's quite similar with these olive baboons. They do seem to be a little bit more shy than the Chakma baboon, but I can guarantee that if there is a habit of people having food in a particular area or feeding the baboons or leaving the dustbins out, I can guarantee that these baboons will also act like the chakma and get stuck into the dustbins and the food. Right, so I'm going to keep going down the road here. There's some giraffe in front of us as well, but I'm going to head to the river and see what's happening down there. Let's head over to Taylor.
We've just seen you. We've just had to turn around though, so now I'm racing. I was confused. I thought you were heading down to the Tanzanian border, and then I was like, oh, we'll go to the river. But it seems as though you're going to the river, so we just got to backtrack a bit and get back on track. Then I'm going to change my plan completely from what I'd originally had planned. We will go back towards those marshy areas and have a little scratch around there and see if we can't get some lions coming out of the thicket in a little bit. Otherwise, hopefully we're going to spend some time with the elephants and watch them in the marsh, because it's very hot today. It's very, very, very hot and not particularly pleasant unless you are a buffalo, an elephant or a warthog and like the mud quite a bit. Then that's probably going to be a good area. No, it's not that one either. Goodness, how did we got up here quickly, eh, Manu? Sure. I thought we were a lot... Yeah, I thought that our turn off, well, our backup plan was actually a lot closer, but it turns out we're a lot closer to Hippo Pools than I thought. Amazing how quickly time flies when you're out on safari. It does, it goes very quickly. You'll see when you come on your first game drive ever, you'll be so shocked. You would have thought, how can it be over already? We just got in the car. So that happens quite a bit. But again, the triangle is quiet, which is making Ralph and I itch to get across to the other side, where the game is plentiful. Hopefully, in the next few days, we are going to pop past down there, and Manu can show Ralph the ropes, and I'll show Archie, because he's never been down there before. Now, Julie, you're wondering how much ground do we cover in one day? A lot. Well, it actually depends. Like this morning, I didn't go very far. I think this morning I must have done about maybe 40 or 50 kilometers. No, not even. Actually, less than that. Maybe about 30 kilometers. Whereas today, I've already done 15 Ks, so I'm halfway there. I'll probably do about another 30 or 40 more this afternoon. So it just depends. When we go across to the other side, and normally by the time I've done 3 full days coming from camp, going across the other side of the river, and then coming back to camp, I've done something like close between 350 and 400 kilometers, and it's quite cool. I basically used a full tank of fuel, so that's how I kind of know. So that's quite hectic. There you're doing a lot of driving because the camps are not close by from the areas that we're driving in. You know, you're having to travel quite far out to get to the spots that we need to. But it'll be nice to see. I have a feeling though it's going to be very dry in comparison to the beautiful green triangle, which is also starting to get dry now. Now, Andrew, you're wondering if we ever let me get that all out now. If we ever travel and cross the border during safaris? No, not allowed to. So it's still, it would be illegal. You would be trespassing seriously. So you have to obey the rules and not go inside the Serengeti. If you are caught, you can end up being arrested. You have to pay a big fine. So there's lots of repercussions for entering or crossing a border illegally. You'd still have to do it the same way. Who's been walking here? Here's a track. Let's play a game. Is that good, Manu? Can you see what I'm looking at? Who has been walking in the sand? I can't get out here, I'm afraid. But because there's a few vehicles around. But I think you're going to be surprised by this one. Let's see who can actually guess it. There's two animals that it could be. Manu, I don't know if you can zoom into one of the footprints so that they can see the pattern. It's a bit tough. If you go down and to the left a little bit, that one was quite nice. There we go. Look how big that is. And so look at the tail. Hashtag Safari Live if you think you know what animal has left this track. Ooh, scary. Right, but let's carry on. And this is where I miss bushwalk a lot. Because I'd be down there getting nice and dirty. Let's see if the culprit's here. Where would it have gone down? Joy in Hong Kong. Oh, sorry, I'm just going to reposition slightly, Manu. No, crocodile, stop it. You've guessed a snake. Good guess, but no, not a snake. I'm just trying to find a good gap here. Should we just go into the river? Julie, ding, 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 ding. You've hit the grand prize. You have guessed correctly. You've said crocodile. Is that a log? Was that a crocodile? It is that crocodile. You are quite correct. It wasn't a very big crocodile, but it definitely was too large to be a water monitor lizard. That tail, the thickness and that tail drag mark is what gave it away to me. And then also, sorry, it was a bit difficult to show you. On bushwalk it would have been much easier, but you could see the scales really nicely in the tracks from the crocodile, which you can see with a water monitor, but you don't often, and we've been lucky, we've had a look at some really cool crocodile tracks. Once, remember when we were tracking, was it Vlad that was outside the water near Buffelshoek Dam, and then we looked at all the different spots where he'd been laying in the mud and where he'd been laying in the sand. And of course crocodile skin is beautiful, and sadly people kill them for their skins to make handbags and shoes. So you all know the print that I'm talking about, and you could actually see part of that from the arm at where it had stopped and rested. So not a big crocodile. I don't know if it was one of these two. I think it actually could have been slightly smaller than these two, but I would love to have known where it actually went down, because it looked like it went straight off the cliff. I don't know, maybe it was a base jumping crocodile, who knows. But there we go, that's sort of where we were parked a little while ago. So Wendy, you're wondering why can I get out the car in some areas I can't. So tonight I don't have an Askari with me. So if I have an Askari with me, they're our security detail. I can get out the vehicle in most places. However, when I don't have an Askari, then I can only get out of spots in certain like picnic spots where people would stop for sundowners, or again at the picnic spots, or if there's any campsites or bathrooms, that type of thing. And also there were some vehicles driving around. So even when I have an Askari, I don't normally get out the car when there are lots of other people about, because they are not going to be allowed to. But like I said, you can get out of your car here, because you can pull up, you can stop. I mean, it would have to be a proper excuse, as in I was using the luxury facilities, or we stopped to have a sundowner, that type of thing. And it has to be in a safe area, an open area. So there's a couple of rules and things like that. But there's designated sort of sundowner, morning tea and coffee stops along the way that people tend to use, that are in a nice big opening. So yeah, so when we've got the Askaris in the car, then I can hop out and do all sorts of things. Again though, we don't advertise it when there's lots and lots of other cars around. And of course we would never do it when there's a sighting nearby either. We make sure we keep away. Okay, so now back to the marsh we go. We're going to try and hug the Mara River for a little bit, and hopefully we will see some other interesting things. Maybe some hippo sunbathing, that could be quite nice, or perhaps a buffalo wallowing. All of those are possible on a hot day like today. Ralph is still meandering along the Mara River, but he hasn't got a creature that lives in the water. He's got the tall one that likes to live on land.
Thanks, Taylor. Yeah, a tall one indeed. And it looks like these two might be having a little bit of a go at each other, trying to work out who's boss. And we've just been driving on down alongside the river, heading towards Tanzania, and we've come across another little group of giraffe. It's nice to stop and watch them. And once again, it's still very hot and calm. A couple of clouds building in the background there. A few cumulus clouds. Don't think it's going to rain though this afternoon. It hasn't built as much as it did in the last few days, and it still didn't rain. It seems like it's worn off a bit, but it's that kind of thunderstorm type weather, very hot afternoon, so it's always possible that these clouds start to build quite quickly. And with the heat, you can see the sort of common lethargy with all the animals, a little bit slow in doing their thing, even though these two might be in full battle. They are taking their time about it. And then don't forget to ruminate a little bit in between blows. Now, Scarlett, you're wondering, and you've asked a very interesting question. How do giraffe communicate with each other? I think it's down mostly to body language, because there are very few sounds that have been recorded from giraffe. There's the odd grunt and little squeal, but very, very little vocalization has been recorded in giraffe overall around the world. And it seems like there are the odd times when they make a bit of a grunt. I have on foot, I've heard them grunt at me as almost an alarm call, but almost in disgust as I walk past them, but very little else. So I think it is mostly down to body language, because there doesn't seem to be a lot of true vocalizing going on at all. It's very interesting though. And with them, their heads being so far above the plains, it's like they're all on stilts, watching each other, doing the dance. As these two are here, it's the slowest dance in record. But they're at it. They're in full swing. And all it takes is for one of them just to rock his neck back, and the other one will have a go at him as well. But it is, we have the one person watching over there. He's watching the other two. Jenny, you're wondering if giraffe give each other neck fives instead of high fives. Well, that's a lovely idea and a nice way to think about it. But the only problem is, normally you're having fun with somebody when you give them a high five, but giraffe generally can get quite nasty towards each other when they swing their neck. But maybe this is the before the fight, and they're talking about it, trying to work it out before they get down to the neck wrestle and the head clubbing. So I'm still going to be heading off down towards the river. We go and see what animals we might be able to find down there. I'm sure there's going to be some hippos and crocodiles. But in the meantime, let's head you over to Taylor, who I think is still moving around. And let's see what she's been able to find.
A bird that I've not seen for many years. We have got a group of black herons. How cool is that? And there's 4 of them, which is really quite amazing. I don't know if you guys have ever seen these birds before. I haven't seen them for a long time. The last time I saw black herons and watched them was when I was working in Zambia, which was a few years ago, and they are the most spectacular example of a heron, in my opinion. And I wish they would come out the water, because just like my favorite egret, the little egret, they've got bright yellow feet, so you can imagine in comparison to their dark plumage, it stands out quite nicely. And for those of you who have never seen a black heron before, they have got the most amazing fishing techniques. It is one of the most, probably the most amazing thing I think I've seen. I love it. I get quite giddy when I even just think about it. But when they do go out fishing, they typically form an umbrella, which casts a shadow, and obviously they put their head underneath their wings, and they wait for the fish to come below and to get the shade, and then they simply strike down. I wonder if they also don't wiggle their toes a little bit, like I've seen the little egrets doing, to try and lure them in even more. But that's really nice. I don't know why I've never spotted these guys before. Perhaps this marsh is just luring in a variety of different types of birds, but I'm very happy with that. Is it a new bird for anybody? I think it might be a new bird for some of you, because I'm just thinking, I mean, we see certain birds all the time, and this is one that I have yet to come across. I don't think I've even seen it in Zambia, but how amazing is that? And 4 of them, so that's quite new. I didn't know they were gregarious. Now, Dallas Cowboy, you said they're great stalking fishing birds. They are. I feel like if any of the herons have become famous, it's the black heron, specifically for its fishing techniques. There are so many different documentaries about these birds. Now that I know that they're here, I think we might try and come back here tomorrow morning as well and see if we can't see them fishing during the morning light. It looks like they're just resting up at the moment, just on the edge of the bank. It doesn't look like they have any intention whatsoever to move from their position. But if it is a new bird for you, let me know. Hashtag Safari Live. It would be quite nice to hear. It's a new bird for me in the Mara. Ooh. Joy in Hong Kong, you said it's a new bird for you. Thank you very much, Joy, for all of your answers today. Very nice. Great response time. Everybody be more like Joy. We need you to be quick on the typing. Ooh, another one. Lady May, you've also said that it's a new bird for you. So I don't think it's one that we see too often. It wouldn't surprise me if Brent has spotted it out in the Mara already. But yeah, like I said, I have not seen these birds for years. I actually cannot take my eyes off of them. I'm staring at them through my binoculars right now, just because that's so amazing. Very, very nice. Nice to see. Okay, well, we'll come back here at some point, and hopefully the next time we see them, they'll be demonstrating their beautiful fishing techniques. How about that? Ah, I'm so excited. How many new birds have I seen now? What was the other one that I saw the other day that was new for me? I can't remember. Manu, weren't you with me? Didn't I have a new bird? Oh, the vulture. The palm nut vulture. Yeah, Manu and I are hopeless together trying to figure out. We can't even remember our own names sometimes. Sometimes I want to introduce myself and say, hi, my name is Manu, and on camera with me is Taylor, you know, or I get close to getting confused. So there we go. Another new one to add to the list, which I shall do at some point when I stop. So we'll keep going down this road and see what other new birds pop out of the grass, because I feel like it's going to be one of those days. Perhaps we'll check the forest. Ralph, however, is spending a lot of time with a giraffe today.
Yep, we are spending some time with the giraffe indeed, Taylor. It's just one of those things where when you drive up the road, and we're thinking about heading towards the hyenas, but we can't pass up an opportunity like this, where these males that were in full battle a minute ago have now decided to come over to this tree, which I'm still trying to identify, and have a little feed. Now, I've been wondering what tree this is. It looks a little bit like the leaves of a shepherd's tree, or the Boschia albitranca, but it's got quite extensive spines on it, and I think there's also some yellow fruit. Now, I was also thinking of the stinky shepherd's tree. It's very similar small type leaves, but I'm a little bit far away from it to get a sample so that I could positively identify it, but I can see its alternate branching, and I'm going to be looking a little bit closer when I get a proper opportunity, because this is quite a prominent tree in this plain, and the giraffe are feeding on it quite happily. And they seem to have stopped their quibbling and gone for a bit of a feed. Now, Beck, you're wondering if they're whispering tall stories to each other? Well, I wouldn't put it past them. they were having that very silly quibble a little bit earlier, not really knowing what they were fighting about, and then just forgot about it altogether, and now they're gone for a little bit of a munch. Maybe this will distract them long enough to forget that they had a fight at all. But we're hearing a couple of more birds calling while we're sitting here. There's the odd rattling cisticular doing his tweet, 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 and there's some of the buntings out and lark-like finches, but I think we're going to start up and head now towards the river. We have been getting some patchy shade, so it is cooling off a little bit, and I do think that we will be seeing some animals moving around a bit more. But it's been lovely to spend some time with these giraffe. I've also been feeling the heat, I think. And we have to do the customary 10-point turn with the Land Rover. Got a very small turning circle, but once we get going we'll be alright. Now, Scarlett, you're wondering at what age do giraffe become independent, and in saying that, I'm sure that you wonder that's probably coincided with the time that they weaned. So it's normally between 2 and 3 years of age where they start to walk around a little bit more on their own. Up till about a year's old, the mother is very protective over the babies, and the babies can be quite silly really, because they don't understand danger and or being hurt, so they can literally walk up to vehicles, and you can see the mother getting very stressed and trying to bring the baby away. But curiosity is one of the biggest problems for young giraffe, and the reason why they get eaten. Now, I know there was the other day, no, it wasn't the other day, Archie told me that one of his first major sightings here in the Masai Mara was a leopard with a baby giraffe up the tree. So that is one of those curiosity problems of the giraffe. And it was either this morning or yesterday there was a request for ostrich. Well, I have spotted some up here in front, and I think we'll go and have a look at them. It's a nice little flock of ostrich. As the shade comes over and the clouds are moving above us. Alright, let's have a look at these ostrich over the plains. Now, Chat Noir, as we look at these ostrich, you're asking the question, has there ever been an albino giraffe in the Masai Mara? Well, Chat Noir, I haven't seen one yet, but I'm sure there have been, because albinism is it's one of those rare genetic coloration variations, but it can actually present itself in populations quite regularly. Even though it is a rare recessive gene, it does come through in large populations, and there are a lot of giraffe here, so I'm sure there would be quite a few albinistic or albino giraffe. I'm sure there'd be some leucistic ones as well. And that for me is even more rare than the albinos, but they are also very interesting. And same with the melanistic, you know, with there's a lot of black coloration. Now, speaking of black, those ostrich on the left, those are your males, very dark black, almost shiny, brilliant, and the more drab brown ones on the right are your females. And then the males get very pink on the front of their legs when they are in their breeding plumage. But you can see how hot it is here, and that female dropping her wings to protect her bare legs from the sun. So that's one of the uses that they have for their wings now. They also use it in display dances, because you can see underneath on the real drumstick part of the leg is very exposed, so it can get really hot there if left open to the sun. Now, ostriches often also pretty much eat whatever they come across. So as they're pecking away there, they're taking in all sorts, from seeds and bulbs to insects and grasshoppers to stones and rocks. And they use the stones and rocks to assist with their digestion. It's literally a manual grinder, and once they swallow it, and then it helps grind that in the gizzard, and they will eventually excrete that through the cloaca, which is the same as all birds. But it's quite interesting as well that ostriches don't have a white meat. It's a red meat, almost like a mammal, which very interesting, I think. You see how they grab and then they throw it back into the back of their throat and then swallow it. It looks like they're after seeds. And there's some topi moving around in the background. Now, Julie, if Archie just holds that picture there, I've got the answer to your question, which is, why are the trees so sparse? Has it been part of deforestation? Well, those animals that are moving up there in the background are a big reason as to why there are so few trees, because this should actually be quite a largely populated area with trees and almost forest-like, but the elephants have been keeping that option at bay, because they push the trees over and they love to feed on these balanites and shepherd's trees and all the trees that have and should be dominating the area. But, well, I say should, the elephants have decided that they won't be. So that's the reason, because the history of it goes that it has been very wooded, but the elephants have cleared it out, almost changing the biome completely into more of a grassland savanna type. And lovely to see the ostrich here. They are really at home in the heat. The hotter it is, they don't mind at all. They like the gemsbok or the oryx and the springbok. True desert animals. They actually never have to drink proper open water in their entire life. They can get all they need from what they feed on, so they are completely water independent. And the same with springbok and gemsbok or oryx. A lot of people find gemsbok, the word, difficult to pronounce. It's a little bit like you're going to spit. Now, Jenny, you're wondering if those are topi in the background. There are a lot of topi. There's also some impala. And there is some gazelle. And there are a few baby topi around. And there is a big mix of animals here on this open plains. It's lovely to see there, looking towards the escarpment. And there comes a topi. As you can see, things are still quite lethargic. There's not too much action going on, and I can hear some scrub robins calling off in the distance. So we're going to have a look a little bit more around here for the hyena. We're also going to pop down towards the river, but while we change of place, let's head on over to Taylor for an update.
Well, I'm quite happy now because I can just give my hands a little bit of a break as we go through this area. Fly, lapwings, fly! Wattled lapwings all flying around. I can't stop here, unfortunately, as I will sink. Then we will be stuck, and then Rolf will have to change his plans of going to the river and come back this side. My goodness, it's deep through here. But it is quite nice that I can just, you know, relax, sit back, just go and keep my foot on the accelerator. And well, we're stuck in a rut, essentially. There's so many cars that have driven here that there's now big holes in the ground. We're making our way towards a herd of elephants, which should be quite nice. See, this is so much easier when I don't have to worry about steering. It's quite easy to talk to the camera and to drive. It's not bad at all. Sorry, wait, and now we're getting covered in mud though. Sorry, lapwings. You can fly back to your resting spot though. Oh, we're going to get nice and close to these elephants too. Scarlett, you're wondering if I get tired from all this driving? No, not when I can relax like this. Then it's so nice and it's great. Let's see if I'm going to have to turn here though. Is it going to do it by itself? just hands are still. I'm seeing how long I can go for. No, now I've got to get back into the rut again. Bounce, bounce. We're back in. Cameras falling, water bottles flying. But no, you get so used to it. I don't like driving when I go home. I prefer to be chauffeured around, so I make my mom drive me everywhere, or my friends. That's what I typically do. I'm very nervous to stop here, elephant. You're making me very stressed, because now I don't know if I'm going to get out of this, but I can't go anywhere because I have a roadblock. As you can see, of a young elephant cow, I think. Are you a girl? You look like a girl. You smell like an elephant, though. Elephants don't wear perfume, so I wouldn't be able to tell if it was wearing a cologne or a perfume, but it does look like a female. And it's a massive group of elephants. There are so many different families here. They're all feeding on the lovely moist vegetation and cooling down at the same time. How nice is that? Oh, Manu, we could get our baby elephant chasing the egrets. Remember how I've been wishing for this sighting for the last few days now? How I said that young elephants often love to chase egrets around? Perhaps this afternoon is our afternoon. Come on, break into a trot. You know you want to. You know how much fun it will be when you see those birds fly. Stalking at the moment. Trying to catch up to Mom. Oh, that was a pity. There was a perfect opportunity. Now, I would have been the kind of elephant that would have been chasing egrets my whole childhood. Any birds, in fact. Egyptian geese I probably would have specialized in. But the rest of the group, of course, are completely uninterested by the birds. They just let them do their thing and move around their feet, underneath their legs sometimes, and even catching a ride, sitting on their backs. Oh, we've got some more Ellies coming in. Hello, big girl. Now, it looks like she's being tailed by a young bull. I wonder if it is her offspring. You can see her. Maybe it's one of her older offspring. She looks a little. She doesn't look happy. Now that doesn't look like a happy elephant. Look how she's marching away. So I don't know what's upset her. I don't think it's us, because she hasn't even acknowledged that we are here. But she's just moving very erratically. Can you see that? She's going quite quickly. And one of her little ones that's coming in from the back now is missing the tip of its tail. Missing the special fly swatter. Sorry, little elephant. At least you've still got a bit of a stump to keep those flies at bay. Yeah, she wasn't happy about something. But she's fine. Okay, let's move a little bit further forward. Let's try and get to some harder ground. I don't like that I'm sitting in this. Sorry, excuse me. Coming through. Trudy Bus, you said the little Ellies melt your heart. Well, this might not be able to melt your heart in terms of acute sighting. If I can turn the car just a little bit. That was very graceful. But that's quite a nice scene, don't you think? Elephants, cattle egrets, and then there's even a few buffalo that have decided to enjoy the spa today. Shame, it seems as though their private treatment is being disturbed as the elephants move through. Look at them. So they're in a little bit of a mud wallow at the moment. That's why they're so far into the ground. They haven't dug themselves a hole. A lot of these areas actually, even just from being trampled by hippo, elephants, they forming these massive depressions in the ground, and then they fill up quite easily. And then when a buffalo, a warthog, or even an elephant utilizes it, it gets bigger and bigger. Well, as you watch this little one, I do apologize if I sound distracted. I'm just keeping an eye out on that other cow. Like I said, I don't know how happy she is. And all the bulls are taking an interest in her. I wonder if she's not coming into estrus. Sorry, I'm just watching. See, there's another young bull that's coming quite close to her, and he just tried to test to see her urine. See there? Very inquisitive. So we'll just see. No, she seems to be relaxed. She's standing still. Scarlett, you're wondering which sex, either male or female, of the elephants tends to be a little bit more moody with humans. Again, it depends on the individual elephant's experience with humans. So, if they had many encounters, have there been good encounters, have they been bad? You know, has someone made an elephant feel uncomfortable? Someone got too close? Yeah, I think she's coming into estrus, and I wonder why. That's maybe her behavior. And that's why these bulls are so curious. So I would say that elephant cows that are between the ages of about 10 and 15 years old are the most moody, in my opinion. And the reason why I say this is because I don't know how many sightings I've had with you live, and then before I even joined the Safari Live team, it was a typical sighting. Every time you came across a cow of that age, she would be the first one to trumpet at the car, or shake her head, or mock charge, or do something along those lines. And we've seen it many, many times with the teenage girls. So again, and then the big musk bulls you typically leave alone. You just give them a bit of room. And otherwise, everybody else is fairly tolerant. Even the big cows and their young calves don't seem to mind the cars at all. But again, it goes back to that personal experience. Yeah, you see, he's very inquisitive. Now, of course, he's way too young to be even thinking about mating with her, and she's definitely not going to let that happen. And there are lots and lots of big elephant bulls roaming the marsh at the moment, so he better watch himself, because if he is showing too much interest, he's going to get in trouble. But he's also reaching the age now where he's probably going to get pushed out of this herd. Perhaps he's not even part of this family. Maybe he was just standing here and he's been grazing and browsing and splashing in the mud all afternoon, and this herd is actually just passing by. He doesn't seem to be following, which is quite nice. He's just going to leave her alone to do her thing, and that's probably the best decision. I don't know if we're going to get through. These elephants have churned it up quite a bit. French Life, you're wondering what on earth is taking the elephant's tails. You said this is not the only one that you've seen without a tail. So luckily this one's just missing a little bit of it. Oh, from crocodiles to hyenas, lions, you know, not that I'd think that would be the most common thing. Elephants crossing the Mara River and being snatched by a crocodile. I've seen an elephant leap out of the water, and I've even showed you all a photo when I was guiding in Zambia and managing a lodge of an elephant having its tail bitten by a crocodile. So it definitely does happen. Like I said, more often than we think. There was that video recently, here comes another elephant bull, who was seen with a youngster, I think, had its trunk in a crocodile's mouth. So it was quite crazy to see that video as well. So I think it happens more often than we think. So I just got distracted. I had something on my hat. I think it was a spider, but I threw it off. It's gone now. Okay, well, we're going to try and navigate through this mud bath that the elephants have created for us. It once was a road. Ralph has finally moved on from the giraffe, but he's still got a creature that's got quite tall and is not afraid to show some skin.
Yes, thanks, Taylor. And it's very interesting that elephants without their tails, and with them having lost their tails, it's almost like we need to have some kind of detective theme song with them. It's like with the hyenas, you almost feel like you need to have some kind of bad guy theme song. I wonder what theme song we'd have for the ostriches. Something like Roadrunner. But it seems they're all happily feeding through the plains here, foraging away, snacking on all sorts of little things as they go through. You can see they're also quite hot. Those wings displayed down like that, and their beaks open, allowing for cooling through respiration. Now, Julie, you're wondering if the male or the female or both of the parents look after the chicks, raise their chicks. Well, it's actually both, but it's the dominant male and female of the flock. Now, that was very interesting what happened there. Look on that female on her neck. There, she's obviously just swallowed a stone. The male did it a while ago, and you could actually see it going down her neck. Now, that one's just gone down all the way into a gizzard, but you can actually watch him going down the neck. Yes, so there is a dominant male and female, and they will both look after the chicks. And they can be quite dangerous around their nest and when they have their chicks as well. They've got a very strong two-toed formation on their feet with very strong claws on the end. And as you can imagine, with the size of the bird, it's like a very big hook. And they have been known to disembowel people if they got near to their nest. So beware. And look at that one. I think he's just swallowed a rock down. You're going to start to see it going down his neck. All to help the digestion. But very funny. I've seen many ostriches in captivity, and they're often swallowing rocks. And when we were little youngsters, we used to stop the rock as it was going down the neck. And you can let it go and let it go again and grab it again. And the ostrich is still looking around for what else they can eat. A very interesting animal with a brain smaller than its eye. And very instinctive. And there we get a little bit of shade from the clouds. Now, Scarlett, you're wondering if I've ever done a ostrich attraction dance like James. I have done a few, and I will show you at some stage. I'm not allowed to get out the vehicle here, but maybe when I'm back at Djuma, I'll give you my best ostrich impression. Now, I'm just going to turn the vehicle a little bit because there is a wonderful scene unfolding just behind us. It's just very picturesque. And I know we've got the road there in between, but with that elephant walking there in the background, it just looks lovely. I think we have to get that in frame, Archie. The impala in front, there's a couple of topi, but just that elephant walking in the sheer immenseness of the plains. It's very pretty. Into the shade a little bit, and he just keeps sauntering across. Look at those impala there, also just having a little bit of a feed. There's a topi as well, and it looks like I don't know if he's got one tusk. Couldn't see when he was walking towards us. No, he doesn't. He's got both. He's just hidden behind his trunk. But he seems on a mission to somewhere, because he hasn't stopped walking since we saw him coming up from the river. So he's on a beeline. I wonder if he's maybe after some specific food, or maybe it seems he's walking into the wind. Maybe he's after one of the breeding herds. And he's smelt one of them, and he's after them now. Very graceful, hey? And it's amazing how even when an elephant walks right next to you, you can really struggle to hear them. We've actually been looking for the elephant, found him, and then just retreated a little bit to get to a better position, and then tried to re-find him again. And we were literally only 20 meters away, and it was like he absolutely just vanished into the thickets. We couldn't find a track. We didn't hear him. He was just gone. So right, I think we're going to slowly start to make our way through here on down to the river, see what's happening down there, and we can always come back here a little bit later this afternoon. But while we do that and while we reposition, let's send you on over to Taylor and see how she's getting on.
We're getting on just fine. We didn't get stuck. It's been a great day in the triangle, and apparently it's a good day for this little elephant too, who's got its tail, unlike some of the others that are missing them and not interested in the cattle egrets. Come on, surely just one of you want to chase at least one of these birds. That one was just about as tall as that little elephant. It just goes to show you how small these creatures can actually be, and it's just incredible that they transform into these massive grey giants. Really nice. But it's a lovely day in the marsh. I'm very envious of the elephants at the moment. I wish I was one of them. Oh, they sound like there's some angry elephants behind me. It's that female that I think's in estrus or coming into estrus. Even Manu's looking back behind him. We can't see what's going on. So we might not stick around here for too long, just because I am in 4x4, and you should not be in 4x4 or low range at least while you're with elephants, in case you need to get away from them quickly. Being in low range is something that you can't do, but we have to in this situation because it is so muddy here, and without it I'm going to get stuck. So because I'm in 4x4, and as soon as I do feel as though I'm going to get myself into a situation where I'm going to be trapped, or I could potentially be trapped, I maneuver away from them. And if it was the case, it was just dry and it was just normal grass, no problem. I'd sit and I'd let them come to me and carry on with their day. But I don't want to get myself into a silly situation. That's something that you should always keep in mind when around elephants. Now, Virginia, you're wondering, what is that white stuff in the eyes of that one elephant? I did see there are actually a couple of them that have it. It's not uncommon. You can see it quite a bit in the corner of the eye. And it's kind of like sleep. Like, you know how you and I get sleep? It's just a build-up, I suppose, of grime and dirt and all sorts of things. And possibly indication of a bit of an eye infection, maybe, especially if it's secreting quite a bit. But if you look very carefully, you can often see a little bit of white in the corner of an elephant's eye. Sometimes it's more prominent than other times, and then again, I'm sure if an animal gets an infection or something like that, you might find that substance increases quite a bit, trying to fight the bacteria. Yeah, but they're quite happy. They've got long eyelashes to try and protect their eyes, though, to keep the dust out, to try and keep the mud out too. Now, Justin, you're wondering, if I was an elephant for a day, what would I do? I would chase cattle egrets. I would trumpet a lot. You know what I would do is I'd hide behind bushes and around bends on the road. And as soon as that I could find, what else would I do? I would chase lions around all day long, all the predators. I'd just annoy them and follow them, just for a day though, so they will be alright. I don't know what else I would do. I'd definitely go swimming. Maybe I'd chase a crocodile around. I'd definitely push a tree over. I'd try and pick something up with my trunk. I'd like to see how many heavy things, what is the heaviest thing I could pick up with my trunk. So I want to be a fully grown elephant bull now, of course, with big ivory. And then I'd go and do all those types of things. I'd stand up on my back legs. I'd be the circus elephant of the Mara. I'd try and walk like that. Of course, that's ridiculous, and it's probably impossible to do, but I'd definitely give it a bash. And I reckon if anybody is in the Mara the day that I turn into an elephant, get your cameras ready, because I tell you, I'll be entertained. Quite nice, with a reverse, of course. I like being a human, it's not too bad. But there they go, very peaceful amongst this herd. And I think it would just be interesting to hear the different conversations that all the different herds are saying and all the different animals are talking about, because remember, they can all understand one another. So it would be nice to hear what we hear as sounds, as tweets, as trumpets, as roars, as whoops from the hyenas, and to actually hear what animals hear. Maybe they hear something different. But I don't know, of course, I'm just speculating. Across to Ralph now. I think he's got a bird, so before it flies away, you better go to him.
Yes, hello everybody. Sorry, this little bird is just disappearing behind the cliff here, and I'm going to try and get closer without falling down the riverbank and also without scaring the bird away. So that's a challenge that we have here, because he's coming right underneath the riverbank, right underneath us. There we go. There he is, yellow-billed stork. Lovely colours there, glistening in the sunlight as he's foraging away. See how he puts his foot in, tries to loosen up any little insects and frogs, and then he's got his mouth open, ready to snap them up. See, a lovely little fishing technique there. And if he feels any movement on that bill, he'll immediately snap it closed. Lovely little hunting scene here from a stalk. Beautiful colors. Nice to be so close to him. We're directly above him on the riverbank. Now it almost looks like he's realized the camera's on him. He's just setting a pose. Ah, is that a part I see? Ah, back to hunting. Look at that. Stunning. Lovely to be so close as well. Alright. Look at that. It's fascinating watching him hunting in the water here. I just want to see if he actually gets anything. I see he's putting his feet in there, trying to loosen them out. Alright folks, I think I'm going to stay sitting here. Look at that. That's There's a nice little breeze starting to come through now, so it's cooling off a bit. Making quite a noise. Now, Willow Wanderer, you're wondering if male and female storks are identical. Well, the males are generally a little bit more colourful. So they are very similar, but the males get... And so there is a slight difference, but not a massive difference between the male and female. And once this guy stops doing what he's doing, and I'm able to show you in the book, it would be a waste for us to go away from him just yet. But I'll show you the difference in the book. There is really not much difference at all. You see that fishing motion, kicking up the mud? Lovely to sit and watch him, hey? It's almost got a pink shine to it. Now, Pisces Bobby, thanks for your comment saying this is amazing. I agree. It's absolutely fascinating. Moving with him through the water. He's still on the lookout. He hasn't really been that successful yet. We saw him as we got here get something small. But maybe he's passing up the small stuff and waiting for something a bit bigger. Maybe like a frog or a little fish. It's got to be really quick though. But that's where I think trying to loosen up the soil around, and then it's a little bit disorientating as well in the mud for the little prey that he's after. See how he stands on one leg and then pushes the other one into the mud. That was nearly, obviously got away. What a shame. Well, good for whatever it was that got away. But he's going to have to be a bit better than that. Seems there's quite an interest in this little area here. Maybe there's a bit of movement around that he's seen. He's chosen this spot. He gets in all into the mud, into the corners, around the grass and the reeds. Beautiful colours. There, and you can probe quite deep as well. It's a long bill that. He's cleaning off his bill. He's still hunting in the current there. Almost like that. Crocodiles also do that as well, but the crocodiles, they don't move around as much as this. They'll just lie with their mouth open, facing upstream. And so, very similar to that, it's actually just got to pass by its mouth, and then it's snapped up. Crocodiles will often go sit in the rapids where the river is bottlenecking, and so all the fish having to go through a small channel, and then they'll lie there with their mouths open, and normally catfish comes past, they snap it up. We've got the turtle dove calling in the distance. As a sacred ibis there also gets busy. Now Andy, you're wondering if they're aware that there's crocodiles in the river. I'm sure they are, and it's not past a crocodile to go try to catch some birds. They can also eat birds, so these birds also need to have their wits about them. They understand though, they know when they see that moving flat dog coming towards them, that it doesn't mean any good, and he's probably going to eat them if they hang around, so they will also move away. So it's totally fascinating. But a couple of nice little birding spots here. I think we're going to start up and head down a little bit further, see if we can catch up with that paradise pride, who Taylor tells me they often see just on the other side of the river. And the first day that I was here, I did see them. So let's go and see. Maybe we're lucky this afternoon. Storks are related to flamingos. Yes, they are. They are related. They're in a similar grouping, but obviously slightly different in the way that flamingos feed. They are more filter feeders, where you could actually say that a lot of the storks are as well, but in shape and size and habits as well. So very long legs, and they also fly very similar, or both of them with their necks straight out, and very often with their legs straight out as well. So you've almost got like a cross when they fly through the air. And remember, that's how you tell quite easily the difference between the storks and the flamingos and the herons. So the storks and the flamingos fly very similar, legs out, neck straight. The heron, their neck is tucked in nice and close to the body, so you can see it quite easily in flight if you're trying to tell or get too closer to a particular group, and then you can find that in the book or on your app, and it makes identification that much easier. You know, you want to get to a specific group and order according to what they're exhibiting or their shape and size, and so that makes it a lot easier. So it's been a wonderful afternoon so far. Please everybody, remember that you are watching Safari Live, and everything that is happening here is right now, right here. Nothing is planned. It is not scripted. And so as I drive down towards the river, I'm going to send you on over to Taylor, who I believe is doing something similar.
Not quite down by the river, I'm afraid. We're just going through this little crossing. There we go. It's dried out quite a bit. It's not so muddy and slippery anymore. Anyways, we've left our elephant herd. We had an incredible sighting though, something that I've only seen a handful of times. Now, we often see elephant bulls tusking one another and sparring. However, we watched a proper domestic fight between two female elephants, and they were very, very unhappy with one another. And I don't know what stirred it or what started it. I also don't know if they were from the same herd or if they were from different herds that were just feeding communally. And essentially what happened is they sized each other up, and their youngsters on either side of them, and neither of them wanted to back down, so they were sort of mock charging at one another, and in the end they clashed tusks and they pushed and shoved each other. And then the one cow actually ended up winning, obviously. She pushed this girl away and she ran, and then she started chasing after her offspring too, which was really quite interesting to see. You don't normally see such aggression around the females, or I just haven't been at the right place at the right time to witness anything like that, but it is always so interesting to see that. I would have loved to have known what caused that little argument that couldn't be resolved with just words. I don't know what upset them. It's not like there's a short quite high between lots of different animals. Hippos not allowing animals to come down and drink at the water, or elephants also chasing other animals because they want to drink or want to feed in a particular spot. Then we see a lot of that. But on a day like today, where there's so much food and so many other things around for them to feast, lots of water, I don't know what would upset an elephant like that. No, I'm in two minds. Let's drive along this lugger, just because sometimes we see things. Lions like to live here. Now, Richard, we actually just discussed this. You're wondering if I knew if it was one herd or a variety of families. We're just talking about it now, and over the last few days, it's not one family of elephants that we're seeing. It's quite a few of them together that are just coming into the same area to graze. Matriarchs of two different herds. Of course, can't expect nature to just be peaceful. I don't know where any lions are today, I'm afraid, but we'll give it a bash around here, have a little look. Sometimes the triangle boys come back to this spot. This must be one of their favorite spots, because I've just seen them down here so many times. Haven't heard anything of male lions though from passing guides. Actually, I don't see many cars out in this area at all, so I wonder if... Oh, sorry, it's a bit bumpy here. I wonder if everybody hasn't gone down towards the Tanzanian border. Youngsters. There's plenty lions down there. There's the cystic hyena. So it might be bustling down in the southwest. Ooh, my goodness, this road. All of these roads have got so bad with the rain. Now, Tom, you've said the Mara is so green and you're wondering if it is still raining. On and off. It doesn't look like we're going to get rain now. So it's... It's on and off. In April, May. But from what I understand, they haven't had 17 is going to be the year for the big rains to arrive again. But even the triangle is starting to dry out quite a bit, and it's just from not having rain for a few days. It's interesting. I mean, every time I drive past a section where the grass is quite tall, I always put my hand out and then I pull a piece and I'll play with it. And definitely getting a lot drier now, so it's not going to be too palatable for any of the animals. It's losing its nutritional value very quickly. So we do need another downpour, and then in no time. And you start to see the yellow patches when you're up on the escarpment. You can see where it has just rained recently, or the last few days, and where it hasn't. It's pretty incredible. Okay, so we're going to bumble along this lugger, and hopefully we're going to find a leopard or a lion or something else that starts with an L. Let's jump back on board with Ralph and see how far away from the river he's managed to get.
Well, we've gotten pretty far down the river. And I can tell you there are some big crocodiles in the Mara River. And there we're looking at a few of them. It is amazing how big these crocs get. And it's fantastic to see them out of the water. And they call that gaping. And they open their mouth like that. And it's assumed that they fulfill a thermoregulatory function when they're doing that. As upstream, Archie, there's a hippo while walking into the river. I don't know if you can turn up river there. Sorry folks, we're just going to swap over. It seems those crocs aren't going anywhere, so we can come back to them. There's a little bit of action upstream. This hippo decided to come down from the forest or the wooded area just alongside. It's probably been grazing a little bit, maybe settled up in the shade, maybe it was grazing or whatever it was doing. It's now come down and probably quite happy to cool off a bit. Nice to see him in a bit of shallower water. Generally only get to see the top part of their rump and their eyes and nose and their ears. But a wonderful scene here again next to the river and in the river. See the odd fish plopping on the top of the surface. It's normally catfish, because they don't have fully developed gills. They've almost got like half lungs, so they need to take a gulp of air every now and then. So you see these whiskers just moving along the surface. But this hippo happily moving now into a bit of deeper water, I think. Quite pink under the neck and on the belly. Happy as a hippo in the river. Wow! It's a shame it's just behind that branch. But I couldn't have planned for that. It seems he's now bending his legs and getting his whole body under the water. And that was a lovely little display before he went under. And seems like he's on his own over there. But there are quite a few hippos downstream of him, not too far from where these crocodiles are. So I think we might sit here a little bit longer. There's an absolutely wonderful scene here. Those crocodiles are still sunning themselves on the bank. The hippos popping up every now and then. Now, Keith, you're wondering if hippos run so quickly, why are they so fat? Well, Keith, you find with most of the hindgut fermenters that they do have these overly large bellies. Even if you look from warthog, which is one of the smaller hindgut fermenters, very round, fat belly. And you go on to zebra or your horses and donkeys, also always very fat bellies. Rhino, even elephant, very round, fat bellies. Now, they also spend a lot of time in the water, the hippos, but that very fat, rounded belly, and almost similar to build, but not in the same family, but similar to that of the dugongs and the manatees, in that with that life in water, seems you get a bit of that buoyancy, and you do get a lot of muscle and flesh around. I can still tell you that I don't think there's much fat in a hippopotamus. I think that's all flesh and muscle and bone, and so they do seem fat, but a lot around the belly, and then the rest being a lot of flesh. Now, I think we would be rude not to sit here and just have a look at some of these crocodiles still sunning themselves now in the sunlight. It was a little bit darker earlier with the shade coming over from the clouds, but now you can see right into their mouths, and you can see all their individual scales and that very hydrodynamic shaped body with those ridges all along the top as well, and go very fish or serpentine like in the water as they slink through and propelled by that very strong tail, and also slightly webbed on the feet, and a lot of scales. Yeah, crocodile does make quite good eating. If anybody was ever wondering what it tastes like, I found that it tasted, you eat mostly the tail, but they do use it for all sorts of things, the skin, and that is farmed in South Africa. They are quite easily farmed. And the meat tastes very much to me like if you take a mouthful of chicken and a mouthful of fish at the exact same time. It's bizarre, but very good all the same, even though I'm not thinking about eating one of these. I think they would eat one of me if I had to go anywhere near them. They are big enough. Fearsome, I find, if I'm going fishing or anything like that. Now, Francis, you're wondering if crocs have tongues. They don't have a particular tongue, but they have what you call a gular flap, and this is something in the back of the throat that assists them that they can, when they feed, it obviously shuts off that they don't swallow water, so they can tear meat off and have their mouth open without the water flooding down and probably filling their stomach up. So that's what we call a gular flap, which is pretty much their replacement of a tongue, because that's what we also use to close up our throat. And very interesting then the way that they feed with the use of that. A wonderful picture, and you see how it's opening and closing its mouth every now and then. It's well believed but not proven that it's down to thermoregulatory purposes with that gaping, because they say that they very often do it in the sun, but they also do it when it's very cold. So that's where the doubts come in, is why would they be doing it if they're cold, if they're using it to cool off? But it serves some sort of thermoregulatory function, I believe, because you see them doing it a lot when it's very hot. And you see the birds, you saw the ostriches earlier doing that. They're also very hot. Very cool to watch that on the banks of the Mara River. Now, Jenny, you're wondering how long crocodiles live for? Well, in St. Lucia Crocodile Farm in South Africa, where they have a lot of crocodiles, and they've got them in many different dams and in enclosures. They've got one there that is over 100 years old and still healthy. So they do believe that they can get well over 100 years. The food isn't as perfect as it would be in captivity, where it's fed to them on a daily basis. So you're probably looking at between 70 and 100 years being a very good aged crocodile. Nevertheless, it's still a very well aged animal for all the mammals and all the birds and all the other organisms and animals that we get here. They do reach a very ripe old age. So very interesting to note that these crocodiles that are lying on the bank here have probably seen pushing it, but I would not put past them having doing two of mine. So that's a decent age, and they would have seen a lot of migrations, a lot of crossings, a lot of interesting scenes would have unfolded near to these crocodiles. And if they could tell the story, my word, I'd like to see that. Now, Francis from Israel, you're wondering if the animals have stopped crossing the river. Yes, they did. They stopped crossing a good around 2 months ago. So that was the not the perfect ending, but the sort of, once all the there. Not all of them. There are a lot of the animals that have remained, and that's the ones that we are seeing. But the major part of the migration with all those animals has moved through, and then we wait for next year for it to happen all over again. And Safari Live will be here to bring it to you. So you just need to wait a while, and we will be all over it here at the Mara River, witnessing it live. But for now, we're quite happy to sit and watch some hippo and crocodile and see how they play the waiting game now. So, this is a fantastic scene that we have here, and I might be moving off a little bit down the river, but I don't think we're going to move too far, and then we're going to make our way back up to the plains where the hyenas are. But in the meantime, let's go all the way down south to South Africa with Noelle and say hello to her.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you've been enjoying the show so far with everybody up in the Mara. I am Noelle, and on camera today I have Ferg. Hello, Ferg. Ferg saluting cars like this. I'm coming to you from the Sabi Sands in South Africa on Djuma, for any of you that are maybe new to the show. And the plans for today, I think Ferg and I were chatting about buffalo, but I haven't heard of buffalo gracing our presence for a while. So I think because it's warmed up nicely, we're going to go and check and see what we can do about some elephants, and then as it starts cooling down, start looking for our predator friends. I have a feeling that Scotty D, who's also on Djuma with me today, is going to have a look for Tundi, but I will let him update you about his plans with that. And otherwise, I think maybe we'll look for some birds and some butterflies, maybe tortoises. We'll see if we can find a few trees to do. Take it kind of easy and see what comes along, and whatever pops up is whatever we will talk about. I actually do, now that I say that, there's a Wahlberg's eagle's nest that's not far from us, and I want to check on them. It's interesting, especially, sorry, it's a little bit bumpy, everybody. After the rain, the little bit of drizzle we had this. So as it gets a little bit cooler, so we'll go see if maybe they're scrapping around for some termites or anything else. And also we're just checking along the drainage system here because there could be a leopard or possibly a lion lying in the shade. This morning they would have been meandering about for a lot longer with that light drizzle and the cool weather, but now it's nice and sunny, just a few clouds in the sky. Not enough rain to make me super happy for the bush, but enough where I'm not going to complain about it, that's for sure. So don't forget, everyone, we are live, we are interactive, and you can send us through questions or comments, hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or on YouTube chat, send them through there. We love hearing from everybody, and we love answering your questions. Alright, so not only are we looking in the drainage line in the shade, but we're also looking up into the trees. Lots of little shady bits up there as well for any of our leopard friends. And when you're driving along the riverbeds like we are doing now, there tends to be larger trees, these riparian trees, having to do with more water that's stuck there underneath the soil. And I think while we're bumbling about, trying to find tracks or animals themselves, let's head on over to my friend Scott and see what he's up to.
Yes, we are much the same as Noelle, just cruising about looking for anything interesting, although instead of hoping to find elephants as a main subject, we are hoping to find a female leopard and her tiny young cub. Her name is Tundi, and my name is Scott Dyson. It is a wonderful privilege to have you on board, and I'm teamed up with Senzo on camera. an hour ago, half an hour ago, so really enjoying having the sunshine. And what's interesting regarding the leopard that we are looking for, she was actually seen this morning, and she was seen on the move with her cub. She was probably around a quarter of a mile, maybe a little bit more away from the old den site that she was using, and she was heading off down to our right to another little riverbed system where I'm guessing she's found another temporary den for that cub. Now, while she was moving along with the tiny little cub, they came across the scent of lions. Lions moved through this area last night, sadly straight through our property, so we're not going to be able to find them for you. But as soon as the mother leopard smelt the lion, she turned back and headed away. So we're not too sure what she decided to end up doing. Maybe she went back to the old den, or maybe she kind of did a loop around. It was very thick, and the guys ended up losing her and the cub in this thick vegetation. So we're just going to spend some time kind of scratching around. Hopefully we find some sign of her, and ideally she leads us back to what could well be a new den site. Philip, you wondering if there's any chance we can go and follow up on any sign of hyena dens? Namely, you're hoping to find a ribbon, and I forget who else you'd like to see. Sadly, Philip, at the moment there are no den sites on Djuma, so we have been poking our nose in every now and then, but I've just got a strong feeling that they are denning elsewhere. So we're going to have to wait for them to come back home before we can start spending time with them. I've got a feeling there's a den site just to the north of us in Buffelshoek, so not too far from the previous den where those two hyena cubs were seemingly abandoned. So, sorry Phil, we just have to, like I say, wait for them to return and start denning back on Djuma. So basically my plans are to kind of drive a big circle around the block. She was seen to the now. Not too sure why, but we do apologize. I think it's out of our control. So those are our plans, kind of just keep spending and investing as much time as possible in the hope of finding this leopard. We don't really have too many other leads to go by. There are no other tracks of animals that we could follow up on, so I think it will be in our best interest to really try and do our best to find this leopard. There were some other animals that moved through our property last night, some wild dogs. They moved through our northwestern corner of our property and then crossed out to the west, so who knows, maybe they will come back this evening or tomorrow morning. So there are some wild dogs in the general area, and quite a few elephants around this morning. We went some little trunk on the hood of our car, which was quite fascinating. She was very relaxed, as was the rest of her herd. I'm not sure what we call the hood of a vehicle a bonnet here in South Africa, just to clear up. That's why I said the hood of the bonnet, which doesn't really make any sense. I was just trying to use both words so everyone understands. Alright, well, I'm not sure who I'm sending you off to or where about they are or what they are looking at, but I'm told you're heading off to one of the other three.
Yeah, thanks Scott. Well, you've sent them all the way back up to us on the Mara River here in Kenya, and we're sitting here just next to the river listening to one of the most iconic African sounds, that of the hippo. It's very much for me like the sound of a lion or that of a fish eagle calling. These hippos have been rather vocal since we got here, and I'm sure we'll hear them in a little bit. It's lovely with the sound of the river as well. And there's a little bit of argy-bargy going on with the pod here. Wonder if there's a bit of a tiff. A little bit of action. Nice to come down here. This is the furthest down the river I'm going to come. From here on, I'm going to be heading back in an easterly direction. Try and catch up with those hyena. Maybe they'll be a little bit more active. We did see a few of them out. They're all curled up in little tufts of grass. These hippos are quite happy in the water. They're being quite boisterous. So, and then from the hyena we'll make our way through towards the marsh. So that's pretty much probably going to be it for the Mara River. And it's been a wonderful afternoon going down the river, but from here I'm going to head inland, and while I'm doing that I'm going to head you off to Noel, back all the way in South Africa.
Hi everyone. So we're coming past Twin Dams, and we've got these impala that are just in front of us that are alarm calling, and they're staring at whatever is making them alarm call. I'm going to try and see if we can hear them. Just bear with me. Can we hear that? Sometimes our mic picks up things and sometimes not. We'll try again. Okay. I'm not sure if everyone can hear what we can hear, but at least you can see, and you can see the anxious look on their face. It's hard. A lot of what we hear in the bush and what our microphones and our equipment can pick up is two very different things. So I'm just going to slowly creep around, because now I would like to try and find whatever it is that is bothering them. So please excuse me for not looking into the camera. I'm very busy looking into the bush here. I just want to see if they'll allow me to get in so that I can look from behind them in the direction that they're calling in. There's another little road that goes up here, because it's always easier when you spot what they've spotted as opposed to trying to track afterwards. Also, because it rained a little bit this morning, the ground is going to be very heavy. Oh, there's the leopard. It's right in front of them. Right in front of them. Oh, fantastic. Ah, this is great. So the leopard can obviously see them. They're only about 5 or 6 meters away from each other, just in front of that main impala. The leopard's lying in the shade. The impalas must have come walking past and then obviously seen him. But now it's better the predator you see than the predator you don't. So this is one of the reasons why when you get alarm calls like this, you try and come in slowly as opposed to quickly, because these impalas, without them alarm calling, we would not have found the leopard this quickly. I was actually going to go up Milwaukee. I would have completely missed the whole thing without them. So one thing they also don't want to do is they don't necessarily want to turn tail and run, because when you turn tail and run, that's when you're exposing your weak point. So to me, this male leopard that's sitting here, which Nikki is saying looks like Tingana for her, I'm just going to put my binos on and have a look quickly, might, if they run away, come and try and grab them. Now, Nix, I think you're correct. It's a fat leopard with a big head and light color eyes, but I want to get a little bit closer to do... Oh, and of course our camera's done the work for us. So, all right, viewers, you let me know who you think this is. Remember, Tingana's got that 5-5 spot pattern above the lip, and then to me, he always has a bluish tinge to the eye. And it is, yes, I'm seeing that 5-5. I hope you all are seeing that as well from what I can see here. And also very thick neck, big older boy, well called necks. Andrew, thanks so much. You're agreeing with Nikki and I. Tingana, well done. Thank you. It's always nice when everybody at home helps us with IDs as well. Also, it stretches your skills. Ah, Philip, you're throwing a little spanner in the works here and saying you think it's Hasana. All right, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, because he's not in stock mode, he's not hunting these impala, he's just lying in the shade and panting and probably annoyed that these impala are going on and on and on and on and on. I'm just going to move down the road slightly and then come up onto the fire break a little bit and then point my nose in so that we can see a little bit better what's going on. We are going to have a bit of the telephone poles in the way, but don't worry, that just means that some of the lodges aren't able to have telephone service for their guests, and it does happen. There's going to be a big bump. Ooh, another one and a couple more at the back. Alright, now notice how the impala are not using us to get away. They are still adamant at staring at this leopard. Matt, astute observation. Matt, you're saying the leopard's breathing fast. He must have just eaten something. So Matt, yesterday evening we had Tingana and he was very, very full and he was also breathing like this. And then what's happened now is it's gotten very warm. So his belly is still full from yesterday and it's warm, so that definitely has to do with it. Something behind us has caught his attention. Ferg's just having a quick look. Now remember we were talking yesterday, Ferg and I were having that conversation about how Hasana likes to follow Tingana, and as you all know, we see multiple leopards here at multiple times in different areas. So it's entirely possible that Tingana made another kill yesterday. It's entirely possible there's another leopard around. There's so many different possibilities that are happening here. Now, as I say this, I'm just going to go quiet again. We're a little bit closer to the impala, and let's see if we can hear their noises a bit better now that I'm closer. Fantastic. There's going to be sound of a vehicle coming past us now. And they're going to come and join us because they're just seeing it as well. And they're going to be joining us in the sighting a little bit, so you'll hear them talking. Now, I'm still curious what is exactly behind us, because the wind is blowing and circling a little bit, so it's also entirely possible that even though they're seeing this leopard behind us, that they're also smelling another predator in the area, which would give them a bit more of a panic attack, not just the one that's sitting here. And I'm thinking that the initial Tinganas are correct. I'm also getting a little bit more blue in the eyes. To me, Hasana has those deep yellow. Also, this dewlap is very big. Francis from Israel, indeed, he is very, very majestic. I completely agree. And do we see that dewlap we were just talking about now there under his chin, that flap of skin there? Hasana's is not big like that yet. Hasana still has to grow into his dewlap. The older they get, you see that there. And then we can see those long 5.5s on either side. And then I know he's sitting in the shade, but when I was looking with my binos now, he's got that beautiful blue tinge. And then Hasana, who again, remember, I've only seen Hasana a handful of times. Hasana to me has deep golden eyes. Have very, very, very different eye color. Now Hasana's spot pattern, I'm to the Mamara to Taylor and see what she is up to this afternoon.
Not much. We're just bumbling around at the moment. We've just gone past the airport. We watched my favorite red aeroplane take off again. I see it every single day. Now, you know what I was thinking? Because I have random thoughts. As I was thinking that, have any of you ever wondered why I wave to the animals? I don't know. The ones that I wave at are normally the animals that I haven't stopped at to view. And then the one day I had this thought. We're going to look at the Thompson's gazelle, because hopefully they're going to do it. Is the one day I thought, do you think, I said, Taylor, to myself obviously, do you think that the animals that you just drive past ever get upset that they're not good enough to be on the show? And then, obviously, I don't know why I was thinking this, because I think of questions as if I was a 3-year-old. And we actually drove past a herd of Tommies, and they sort of poked their heads up. They were quite close to the road. I was hoping these guys were going to do it, but I think they're too far off. And they all looked at me at the same time as if to say, us? Are you going to stop and look at us? No? You're just going to keep going? Oh, okay. So, yeah, it was quite funny. I don't know why I had that thought, but so now I wave at the animals that I don't stop at. But here is a group of Thompson's gazelle. There's not only this species of animal here, there's actually a huge variety. We have got the zebra in the background, and even a herd of buffalo moving past that tree. It is buffalo. So we've got 3 over there, and then if you pan scan to the right, you may even hear the topi that is snorting at me. Why are you snorting at me? Maybe they've seen something that I haven't seen that's behind the vehicle, because they're not really looking at me and snorting. Oh, might just be a bit excited. Now, Chat Noir, thank you for this, because you just said, wouldn't it be cool if the animals waved back at me? That's why I also do it, especially the baboons. I'm going to see a vervet monkey or a baboon one day wave back at me. Oh, let's very quickly go back.
Stations, it's 2 Ingwes. Was a shadow, but I'm going to leave it up to all of you. Come interact with me. Who is this beautiful little female leopard? And you guys can let me know. So remember, those impala were alarm calling, and they were alarm calling at Tingana. And then remember, Tingana was ignoring them, and he was staring straight past us. So Ferg and I moved around again, and then here we go. This is what we found. We literally backed up, and she's staring right at us. So she must have heard those impala alarm calling, and then popped her head out because she was interested, and now she can also see Tingana, and Tingana can see her. Now, unfortunately, where I had to move, and she'll be hidden. So I'm going to stay with this leopard for now and see what she does, and then we'll move over to Tingana. I know that he's still there and hasn't moved because the impala are still staring at him and watching. And then far, far down the line, we also have a huge herd of elephants that's moving in. So within a 400-meter distance, we have 2 leopards, a herd of impala, and a big herd of elephants. This is the Sabi sands. We talk often about how we have huge population densities of mammals, and trust me, they are here. Some days we see all of them, and some days we don't. Most of them have sort of crossed the road already, unfortunately. And then we're able to see very far because we're just on the side of a road, which also has a bit of a clearing that's called a fire break that we keep short in case a fire comes. It makes a larger area, and then it's also a space that's used for the telephone poles. We try and keep everything sort of together so that when we are in the bush, we don't run into too many man-made scenarios. I'm so excited. I hope everyone's as excited as I am. See, Tristan, I love you, but while you're away in your absence, I will take over your leopard duties. When you get back, you can have them back, and I'll take over the wild dogs. I think that's a fair enough assumption. Oh, that's what I wanted to tell everyone. So I had heard that Tristan had said that he thinks that the little cub is a female. But then I was chatting with Scott, and Scott's thinking that maybe he heard Tristan say it was a little male. So until Tristan gets back from leave, I think we'll leave that alone. I'm going to say that Tundi's little cub is going to be a male. That's my bet. And then we'll let Tristan confirm his bet when he is back. And then we'll have to see if Scott... Have decided who this little female is? Have we made an ID yet? My guess again would also be Shadow like Ferg's, just because of where she's coming from and where Tundi was seen this morning. It's 2 opposite directions, and we're sitting on that sort of edge of little gallery where Tundi's been. Now, if that, where Shadow's been. Now, if this means that Shadow's here, possibly her youngster's around, and I would also love to be able to see her youngster. And I missed out on that epic sighting between Shadow, her youngster, and Tingana, so maybe we get another one. That would be fantastic. And don't forget, everyone, we are live, we are interactive. Send through those questions and comments, hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or on the YouTube chat. Bex! Oh, I completely forgot about Kuchava. Well done, Bex. Bex, you're saying it's Kuchava. She, for some reason, she always stays to the last one to pop into my head. Oh, fantastic. And I've only seen her twice before. Once when I was with Senzo and she was in a tree. Oh, sorry, I was with VM. She was in a tree far away. And then once with Senzo and Tristan. Oh, that's fantastic. This is absolutely amazing. So I'm going to have to take photos of her to add into my ID kits and put up some on the Instagram for all of you. Absolutely. We had that.
Yes, welcome back everybody, and we're just heading back up towards where we saw those hyena. So come a little bit away from the river now, but heading den. So I'm sure there's still going to be a lot of planes going out in the plains there where we were. So we'll stop there and have a brief look. We are just going down back towards the river, and then we cut up again once more towards the escarpment. So it seems like you have been getting wonderful images of our spotted cats back in Djuma. That is great news. I wish I could also see that. I'll have to check the replay and see how Scott and Noel are doing. It's fascinating to see that. I still haven't seen Tundi's cub, so I'm waiting to go and see it live. I haven't watched it on the TV. I'm saving myself.
People. How amazing. Technically we're not in the triangle at the moment. This piece of land is not owned by the Mara Triangle. I think it's a private little concession that we can zip around in. And I'm kind of envious. I stopped and I said to them, I'm so envious that you can do this. And they all looked very happy. There's so many, well, there's a couple of zebra every now and then. Better wave at them. We're going to go to have a look at this little lookout point down here on the river. Bye. There's so many animals. Obviously we passed them all. Zebra, lots of impala, big groups of Thompson's gazelle, and it was also very cool. However, as exciting as that would be, and show you all the beautiful plants and just the scenery and the massive boulders and all the birds that we could see in those forests, that would, for me, would be an ideal spot to take you all. Manu, I think I've done the same thing I did the other day, where I missed my turn off because this road is not really worn in anymore. Sorry everybody, I made a mistake. Julie, you said that you're so happy that I wave at the animals, and you think that you say that the animals have feelings too. No, as well. You know, maybe someone takes their hat off. Yes, good day. We'll say good day, sir, to Manu. Good day, ma'am, to me. Is that too much to ask for? I like to keep things interesting for myself in the bush. If you haven't noticed, Manu, where's my road gone? It's not my road. Oh, yeah, the zebra. Sorry, zebra. I've been drawn back to you for a second time this afternoon. Perhaps we shall have a look at you then. I'm just going to get you a nice view of them. I also have to do a big loop because we can't off-road here, so I can't take a sneaky shortcut. So we will drive on the actual road, and then the light will be perfect for the zebra as well. See, should have just stopped at them, and then I would have realized my mistake much earlier. Here's the herd. Hey! I feel like I'm doing dad jokes today. Just in a happy mood, I suppose. Oh, some days, you know, you really just have to appreciate what's going on out in nature. And I always say that nature makes me laugh. It makes me laugh more than anything. It's really cool, and I like to find the comical side of everything, really. There they are, swatting away. Luckily for them, they have got their nice long tails, seeing as though we were seeing some elephant calves with no tails today. And how I always feel very sorry for the animals when they have lost their one fly swatter. That must be a terrible thing. So it is very, very important. Let's see, I think they're going to start to spot the people. I don't know how many people these zebra have seen on foot before. We do a loop here. It's where the Chitwa airstrip is, and it's basically this area where where Little Governors is, and where Chitwa and Beyond Camp is. It's where we often see the Marsh Breakaways and the Triangle Boys. So we're here, but I think it is private land. I think it is someone else's land, and it's being leased. I'm actually not sure, so I'm speaking out of term here. I have absolutely no idea, but I just know that this section is obviously, there's an arrangement where you can do bushwalks. I didn't know that. It was very cool, though. It's kind of the same, also the same route that the horse riders use to come down here and cross the Mara, this section. No, Monique, you have your moment. I'm just waiting for them to pick up on the people. I want to see what their reaction is. And I'm pretty sure this zebra has seen them, but doesn't seem to be too worried. They've got phenomenal eyesight, and they weren't too far away from us either. It was quite cool seeing it though, because they have their ranger with them who has the rifle, and then they have a guide who's got his backpack, and then they also have we would call them, what did I just say to you, Manu? I called those guys a T-boy or T-man, tea-carrier. I think that's what we called them in Zambia. I can't remember. But it was somebody who made tea. And they would make it in the most incredible way as well. They'd do a makeshift fire and with a very rustic pot and boil the water that way. And it was really cool. And then halfway through your walk, just like you would have a sundowner or a tea and coffee in the morning, you'd stop and you'd have a little break. But typically carry, and he'd come with us, and also an extra pair of iron ears. I'm just trying to remember exactly what they called them. It was the scout, and then there was the guide, and they're actually going past us now. Should we do a quick pan scan so you can see? We're going to do a quick pan scan just to show you these lucky people who are on a walk that I'm envious of right now. There's a pan scan just so I'm not telling stories. So cool. I'm so jealous. I just want to run out towards them. I might get shot though, so I won't do that. Can you imagine a crazy person getting out their car, running and screaming towards them? That wouldn't be good. So I'm going to try not to scare anyone. Actually, I'm just going to sit here and let the zebras, you can see they've finally noticed them now. They're watching them, but they don't seem to be too bothered. They've obviously got quite a distance between them. Very nice to see though, bushwalk in the Mara. Right, off you go back to South Africa, where it seems like the spots are having a clash with one another. Or is it an exciting mating pair?
So but we still have view, so I'm going to keep the view as best as we can. Those impala completely had a breakdown. You can hear them in the back. Oh, he's just lying down a little bit. was so quiet as he crossed, and the wind was not the wind was in his favor, not in favor for Kuchava. I'm as well, just to the left. They're probably about 10 meters from each other, which is about 10 yards. And he crept slowly. Maybe in a grunts coming through. Listen, listen. So that's the impala going completely crazy because of the movement of Tingana. Now Kuchava grunted slightly as she was going up, and notice how she went to the tippy top. That means she's not necessarily ready for whatever he's trying. She could just be coming into estrus and just barely wanting to mate, and he can smell it already. I can't see him at the moment. I think he's in the thicker bushes down below. But how incredible was that, everybody? That was absolutely incredible. I just want to see if, oh, there, I can see Tingana moving at the base of the tree just a little bit. We've got Herbie with us. He's driving guests out of Djuma. So Ferg will show you just now. So you see he's just inside of that area. There he's doing the Flemen grimace, testing her urine to see if she's ready to mate. Could we all hear him doing his territorial call then? Tested the urine to see if she's ready to mate, and then did his sawing territorial call. How incredible! And then lies down right where her urine was. He's interested in mating with her. That's definitely what's happening. She's just not quite ready yet, and there she is in the tree. And of course the impala are going completely nuts. They're very unaware of the fact that neither leopard cares about either of them anymore and only care about each other. This is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So I've only been able to show guests mating leopards twice in just over a decade. I've seen it a handful more of times, my own or when I was training guides. But that would be something I would really love to show to all of you on camera as mating leopards. It's such an interesting scenario, and the sounds that they make. When she is completely ready to mate, she will invite him into her space, and then it's actually quite difficult. And then also so that he makes sure that his genetic material gets in there nicely. We're just about to go to an action broadcast, everybody, so I'm just going to be quiet for a little bit. All right, everyone, welcome to this really special, amazing action broadcast coming to you live from the Sabi Sands in South Africa. We are sitting with two leopards. The one you can see on the screen is a big male leopard, and then he has sort of chased a female leopard up into the tree, just up in here, and he's laying at the base where she urinated and is busy testing her urine. He wants to mate with her, but she's not quite sure if she's ready to mate with him yet, as she's probably just getting into her estrus cycle, and when she's not fully into her estrus cycle, sounds a little bit. When we first got here, we saw some impala and they were alarm calling. So please just excuse that as this vehicle is busy passing by. So sorry, we're on a main road, so we've got a little bit of people coming back and forth just trying to get to the gate. Excuse. All right. So then we heard those impalas alarm calling. So Ferg, who's on camera with me, we crept up slowly, and we were watching them, and we just came around the corner a little bit, and there was Tingana, this big male leopard sitting there in the shade. Then after a couple of minutes, he picked up his head and was looking, but not at the impala. He was looking behind. And so Ferg and I just backed up a little bit, and there was this beautiful female leopard, Kuchava, one of the resident females here. Louise, you're curious to know who is presenting. Sorry about that, Louise. That would be me. My name is Noelle. 3.5 hours or so every morning and every afternoon. We usually are on the YouTube, but every night on different platforms, different social media platforms, and so we love when you ask us questions and send them through. Related to Tingana. Now, as far as I know, Kuchava is the daughter of Tundi, one of our other female leopards who is dominant in this area, obviously with different territories. And it's possible that her father is Tingana, but it's also possible that her father is one of the other male leopards that also finds this area home. Listen. Did we all hear that? That is the territorial call of that male leopard Tingana. Now, to get back to your question, males and females that are related to each other will still mate with each other up to certain generations. So he could be the father, and then still mate with her, and that wouldn't be an issue. Not at all. You can see he's a nice big male and thick in the body, and he's very full. He had a kill yesterday. Interesting, Christine, you're saying that Tingana and Kuchava mated in September. If they mated in September, she would then be pregnant for 3 months and then give birth. And now that I'm actually saying this, Ferg, when you're done there, if we can just have a look at Kuchava, I just want everyone to see the backside of her belly. So September, October, November. Christine, do you know when in September they mated? That was before my time, because if we look at Kuchava's stomach towards the back, do you see how it's sitting a little bit heavy? If they mated into mid to late September, and then she's pregnant for about 110 days, it would be round about now or within the next week or so that she would give birth. You see how heavy it is at the back there. Usually, when they mate, it takes every now and then a leopard will abort. Every now and then she'll give birth and the cubs don't survive. But in usual, it works. And I'm actually, now that we're having this conversation, so just an interesting thought. Thanks so much for the update on that. I started with Safari Live at the beginning of November. So I would have missed on that mating scenario. Leopards and lions are roughly pregnant for about 3 months. I believe leopards are 110 days and lions are 100 days, or vice versa, but it's basically 3 months. Just over 3 months. 3 months and a week. So, yeah, if she did it mid-September to late September, and now October, November through December, she'll be just about there. Now, if she is pregnant, her urine will still smell like she wants to mate, just as a side thought. I also, if we have any viewers that were watching just now that watched that big male leopard walk past us, I want everyone to note how stocky his legs looked, and I want everyone to remember that we also still have Mvula in this area, because remember earlier we were talking about the different male leopards. Now, I quickly did a 5-5 scenario on that face, but for whoever's out there, Elaine, very interesting. You're saying Kuchava's father is believed to be Mvula. That's very interesting. That's the first 1 or 2 years different, but I will have to triple check with some of my friends that work around the sands and follow up on that so we can see. What I know about oh, sorry, you're saying Kuchava, not Tingana. I'm sorry, Elaine. I've got too much leopard on the brain. You're saying Kuchava's father is Mvula. Okay, I've got you now. Yes, that's what I'd heard, and I was thinking about Tingana. Sorry about that. Too much going on, too much excitement. Yeah, that would make sense as well for Mvula to be Kuchava's dad. He was a big dominant male. Sean, you're asking what the temperature is here. It's warm. I'd probably say it's about 30, 32 degrees Celsius. I'm not sure what that is in Fahrenheit. I'm sure someone can Google that and figure it out. Sorry about that sound in the back. Interact anymore. All right, everyone. So before we leave you after this special action broadcast, basically what happened is we had all of these impala alarm calling, and then we snuck in and we found them staring at this male leopard Tingana. And then as we were watching Tingana, he was looking behind the impala, and when he was looking behind the impala, we were saying, yes, there has to be another predator around here, because he was way too alert and he was ignoring these impala completely. He wasn't even annoyed enough to move off and walk away with all their alarm calling. So he just backed up a little bit, and there was Kuchava. Absolutely fantastic. Then he decided get up. He stalked towards her. He laid down on the ground, and just as he laid down on the ground, she saw him, and he chased her up the tree a little bit, and she kind of growled, and then he smelled around where she had gone to the loo, and was testing her urine, bringing it into his organs of Jacobson, so that he was doing this, a Fleming grimace, so he could see if she was ready to mate, and also helps with IDs and things. And then he decided, ugh, I've had enough, and he went back to his other side of the road and is laying in the shade there. I hope you all enjoyed this amazing action broadcast, and I hope for those of you who are just discovering Safari Live, you keep following us live on YouTube after we go away from here. Right, so she is eyeballing Tingana quite hectically, and I'm so sorry, Elaine, about messing up your question there. For some reason, Kuchava is always at the end of my list of leopards that I pick up, and for some reason her name. So I think for now we're just going to keep an eye on the two of them. You will come back and join us as soon as possible.
Yes, well, everybody, look how exciting this is. We've managed to find this hyena den, and look what we've managed to find at it. There's a couple of little cubs here drinking from their mother. That is absolutely phenomenal. We took the lady's advice, the researcher's advice, and went on sort of towards the escarpment, and we took 2 random lefts and 2 random rights, and, well, her directions were spot on, because by some chance we managed to come out at the right place. I thought we'd never find it. amazing little scene that we've found here that I think we are going to do an action broadcast soon. So just so that you know, I'm going to be reintroducing myself and everybody to what's happening, because this is very special now, what we found. And every now and then the little cub does get a little bit scared and run back in the hole, but seems to be relaxing with us here. Managed to find this hyena den. This is Safari Live, and we've been driving around for days trying to find out where this clan has been denning, and today we got lucky. And not only did we find the den, but we found Mom outside suckling a the whole at least 5 hyena that use this as their den. So we have been very lucky in enabling us to find this spot, and we're going to sit here for a little bit longer and see if these cubs come out and drink a bit more from the mother, because they are absolutely pitch black and very beautiful. This is such an amazing sighting. I can't believe that we came upon this, and what another bonus prize with Mommy and her cubs. I wonder how high up the hierarchy she is. Maybe being near to the den here, she's probably one of the higher ranked. Look over there, Archie, another one's out. Look at that, folks. We are very close to them, so we don't want to make too much noise. But they're all coming out to suckle from Mom. Kevin, thanks for your comment, saying this is amazing. I think there's not many things that I've seen as amazing as this. Very special. Black. They can't be very old at all. A little bit difficult to see there in the shade, but every now and then you'll see them walk around, and then we'll see them again. So it's not all about the lions and leopards. We do love the hyena as well. Amazing creatures, and almost put all the norms on their head. Stephanie, you're wondering how many cubs I can count. I think I've seen 3, but it stands corrected. I just want to try and wait and see them all out. But I think I might have seen 3. I'll have to wait and see. Looks like only 1 there at the moment. Very often, if it's a dominant female, it might end up only being kill their siblings. Very interesting hierarchy with hyena. They actually call it very political. The cub is so dark in color. Well, generally with the predators and with a lot of the animals, the cubs and the pups and the calves, they can all be very different colored to the adults. Now remember, with hyenas, they will leave their cubs in normally dark holes in the ground, caves, and the dark color will definitely tend to blend in with the surroundings a lot better because of that sites that they choose. Look at that, he just rolled. Can leave some of the females to look after the youngsters.